back this time to talk to you about just cause eviction. Just cause eviction impacts some and not all of the properties, and there are a lot of nuances as to what can impact just cause. I'm just going to briefly talk about a couple of different points because I think these are really important and you should be aware of them. So the properties that are impacted by just cause are those properties that are owned by limited liability corporations that also have a corporate member, and also real estate investment trusts. And what that means that as a property owner, a 30 or a 60-day notice can no longer be given to terminate. Now, there are two reasons to terminate a tenancy with a tenant. There is the tenant fault notice, and there's the no fault notice. The no fault notices are given to tenants that are currently living in a property and have lived there for longer than a 12-month period. And the owner wants to either demolish the property completely, or not completely, but substantially change the property. And when I say substantially change, I don't just necessarily mean, putting new paint and changing the floors, but substantially change the property in itself. And or if the owner himself or herself want to move into the home. Now, when we say owner move in, that also includes their children and their parents and spouses. And that means immediate family want to move in. That is a no fault eviction, and you can give a tenant a notice. However, when you give a tenant a notice to vacate the property, please know that you do have to give them a payment, which is a relocation fee. The relocation fee is equal to 1 month's rent. While you can, of course, give a tenant a 1 month's rent, but my recommendation would be to notify them 15 days before the last month's rent is due, and then waiving the last month's rent. Now, you do have to notify the tenant that you're doing that, and you do have to do it in writing for it to be valid. Otherwise, the tenant could come back and say that you were evicting them without cause, and that could create problems for you down the road. So make sure that you notify the tenant 15 days before the last month's rent is due, and waiving the last month's fee, because that is part of the relocation fee. But on the other hand, I did mention that there are tenant fault notices that you can give them. So things like, if the tenant doesn't pay their rent on time, you can still evict them for that reason. Or if they are in violation of their lease, or they're committing waste, or they're creating nuisances, or the tenant fails to renew their lease, and if the tenant is also subletting. The subletting piece is very important to make sure that you have that as a part of your lease, and we will cover that at a future blog at some point in time when we have the time, so that you know that the people that are living in the property are always on the lease, because that does change the rules on just cause eviction. I'm Adrienne Harrell with Newbridge Management. For these and other tips, always come back to our website.